External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar addressed the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly debate supporting their of leaving no nation behind. The External Affairs Minister expressed concern over several issues happening in the world. He addressed several issues like COVID pandemic, war in Ukraine, the ongoing conflict in Gaza and unemployment. During his speech, the External Affairs Minister gave a clarion call for reform of the United Nations and said it cannot remain and it is essential for the world body to be more representative and fit for purpose in the contemporary era. Joining me on the telecast right now is Ambassador Kanwal Sibal, who is the former Foreign Secretary of India. Thank you very much for joining us. And my first question about the External Affairs Minister's speech. What do you make of him quantifying Pakistan's economy in terms of terror and radicalization?
I think it is very well phrased. It's a good turn of the phrase that he has used to describe very tellingly what the problem is with Pakistan. That its GDP is measured in terms of radicalization and its exports in terms of terrorism. So he's driving home a point with regard to Pakistan, which would resonate well, certainly within India, but maybe in some other countries too, who are sympathetic towards our position vis-a-vis Pakistan. But certainly it will have a big resonance within the.
Why is it important for India to keep reminding about Pakistan to the world and its ways on global platforms?
Well, firstly, Shahbaz Sharif went out of his way to attack India in very aggressive terms. I was a bit surprised that he did that. It's the usual thing about, combining the Palestinian cause with the Kashmir cause, linking the two together, which is standard Pakistani propaganda. And then he went on to talk about Islamophobia in India and use a new term of what is happening in Kashmir as some kind of a colonial settler project, and talked about Hindu supremacist thinking in India. It's quite needless. Now, if Pakistan, already in serious trouble, wants to open some doors towards India to begin with trade, then they have to tone down their rhetoric on Kashmir so that the signal is caught by us that they are willing to progressively change their conduct, lower the rhetoric, and therefore create a ground for further movement in our ties. But he's just done the opposite. For us, it was very important to say what Jaishankar said. Because there are elections going on in Jammu and Kashmir, and therefore this tough stance towards Pakistan has meaning in that context. Number two, the Americans are wooing Pakistan again. The World Bank is now promising, the IMF is promising them $3.2 billion of aid, which means that the Americans are behind the scenes promoting this in order to bail out Pakistan in its difficult economic situation. And then what has happened in Bangladesh is a setback for India, and Yunus and Shahbaz Sharif have met there and have tried to see if they can, resume ties. I believe Bangladesh has bought several thousand rounds of ammunition from Pakistan. So I think it's a message also to Bangladesh, as it is to China also. So I think for all these reasons, Jaishankar felt that it was necessary for him to respond to Shahbaz Sharif. Maybe if Prime Minister Modi was speaking on this forum, as in the past, he may not have chosen to respond, as has been the case in the past. But I think it was the Foreign Minister's duty to do so. And I think he's done it in very well and used very appropriate language to debunk Shahbaz Sharif and Pakistan's terrorist activity, and also saying that you can't have impunity anymore, and that there will be a reaction if you undertake terrorist activities in India, as they are beginning to do.
What do you make of China's reference when External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar spoke of the debt levels clouding sovereignty of nations?
What he's been saying earlier, and this has been figuring not only in our own statements with regard to China. Of course, China is not mentioned, but indirectly the allusion is towards China. But this has been figuring in our Quad statements, in bilateral statements with the United States and others, because this is an issue which is a problem for everyone. This over concentration of manufacturing in one country and the leverage it gives to that country to weaponize that over dependence, and also destroying the economies of other countries by selling them subsidized exports. And in our case, there is a reference also to the China-Pakistan economic corridor through territory which is legally Indian and disregard by China of sovereignty issues. And finally, he also alluded to countries protecting terrorists from being listed in the UN list of international terrorists. That again is an allusion to China. But this is not, there's nothing new in this. He's been saying this before. And I think it was important to say this because, as you would know, there is a lot of discussion within India that we should normalize our ties, economic ties with China, because that is the only way out for us to develop our own economy, etc., etc. As also there's always talk about India opening up to Pakistan, allowing some kind of contacts to resume and things like that. So I think on both these counts, Jaishankar has disabused those who think in this direction, that unless our basic problems with
about the issue of Pakistan occupied Kashmir and the only matter that is pending in response to the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's references to Kashmir. Do you now see the momentum building for India to reintegrate Pakistan occupied Kashmir?
I think we should maintain our legal position and wait for the situation within POK to evolve. I don't think that we are in a position to undertake any military operation to recover that territory. After all, how many years have passed and the POK is under Pakistani occupation. And Pakistan will defend itself, and Shehbaz Sharif said so. And more importantly, China will lose its connectivity with Pakistan. After all, if POK is lost, then what happens to the CPEC and Gwadar and everything else? And Chinese troops are present in that part of our territory. So I think the stakes are very high. And I don't think we are talking about a military operation. We are just maintaining our legal position in order to remind Pakistan and China this is our territory. And then, as I said, wait to see if the internal situation in the POK, Baltistan area, who are very unhappy, the public is very unhappy with Pakistan, whether that, like in Balochistan, becomes a big issue for Pakistan. And in that context, if some opening is available to us. But I don't think this claim that we have, a legitimate claim, is going to be put into actual reality in the foreseeable future.
How do you see India can play a crucial role in the escalation of the war that is taking place in Middle East and Europe crisis? Can India play an important integral role in de-escalation of both these wars?
Not really, because the United States is fully backing Israel. And if there is a change in government and Trump comes in, there will be even greater support. The United States has fully backed Israel's actions in Lebanon. Uh, we have our own position with regard to terrorism, and therefore we've been sympathetic to Israel because of what happened in October 7th. But there is a judgment to be made whether Israel's actions are disproportionate, whether it can do what it is doing unrestrained by anyone with regard to bombing of Gaza, destroying Gaza, killing people, killing children, and now in Lebanon, and then creating a situation where the conflict can become much wider in scope. Iran is at the moment not interested in retaliating. But if really Iran is pushed into a corner and if there is some kind of retaliation, then the Americans are present in very strongly militarily in this region. They'll get involved in, and it will become a conflagration. And we have 9 million people in the Gulf. We have vital interest in that region. Our oil supplies are from that region. We don't want this kind of a disturbance in this area. But apart from counseling, restraint, and dialogue and diplomacy, there is nothing much. There is nothing much we can do because, as I said, the United States is fully behind Israel, and unless there is a change in American approach and thinking, I don't think Israel can be stopped from doing what they want to do.